Hello and welcome back to Live with Heidi and Hester. Heidi and Heather. I'm Heidi Esther, a joy and mindfulness storyteller.
And I am Heather Kokx, happiness expert and blogger, writer, energy healer, all of it. So yes, hello.
And Heather's an author, and I will be an author soon too. Yay!
Yes, I'm excited for your book to come out. I'm really excited.
I'm excited for your print book to come out, Heather.
Yes. Soon.
Very cool. So we are here bringing you this show to just have a conversation with you about all sorts of topics that revolve around finding joy, personal freedom, and happiness in your life.
Yes.
Heather, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about personal development. What is it, and do you need it? And we may talk about how you do it. So,
yeah. Personal development, to me, that just sounds so boring, but it's not. It's like there should be there's textbooks and you don't want to open them, but you feel like you have to because your parents made you.
It is important. I mean, there's a whole section in the bookstore and the library, like self-help. And so I think it's important. And yes, it does sound boring, but it is.
It's not. But actually, it's transformative. So it can be very exciting and surprising and relieving, all in the same.
I think when you have those aha moments, it's just like, those are like the best moments when you figure something out in the puzzle of who you are. And you're like,
oh. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Mm-hmm. That's why when people interrupt me, I feel like choking them. Oh, it's because I never could speak up at, the dinner table growing up, which isn't true for me. Our dinner table was very cool and had lots of moments with my brother always falling out of his chair, which ironically is like the chair next to the chair I'm sitting in right now. I can't believe it's still standing.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, let's move into the first thing. So Heather, how are you taking care of yourself today?
Today, I'm going to take a yoga class with one of my very favorite teachers. He's very thoughtful in his classes and unique and kind. And I always feel nurtured by the end.
Sounds like an all-around awesome human. What kind of yoga is it? Is it a specific type, or do you do like interesting, like all headstands, or?
No headstands in this one. It's a vinyasa, which means you're flowing from pose to pose, as opposed to hatha, where you go into a pose and then you go into another pose, as opposed to Iyengar, where you get the props and go into a pose, and then you put those props away and you get new props. I'm not a fan.
You totally forget about Iyengar. So you get the props. They figure out how you're doing it wrong, and then they give you the props to do it right. But you're still going to be in that pose for 5 to 10 minutes doing it wrong. At least that was my experience of Iyengar, because I'm a very inflexible human. But I'm flexible yet inflexible. So dichotomy.
But that's why you do yoga, isn't it? So you can be more flexible.
To maintain flexibility. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yes. So today I slept in. I did get up and I heated up my daughter's lunch and I made her breakfast, and then I went back to bed for like an hour, and it was just, absolutely fabulous. And
it was like an extra sleep in, like morning nap.
Yeah, I didn't need like 3 layers of under eye makeup, just my normal one. So I feel like it's a win. And also I'm going to show you this little contraption here.
What is it?
So I'm taking care of my dog by giving her inhaler.
Well, how does it fit on the nose?
Oh, wait, let me go get my dog.
Well, I was going to ask also, which one? Is it Olive or Elvis?
So Olive.
Oh, Olive.
She has seasonal allergies and she usually gets treats, but so I just,
She's like, no, don't want
it. Have it on there. I know you're breathing and nothing's happening. So, okay, I'm going to put you down, sweetheart. So there's a little valvey thing that flips whenever she takes a breath. And 5 breaths for 1 puff gets her a treat.
Wow. Is she looking at you now? Like, where's my treat?
Yeah, she's standing giving me the stink eye right now. Like, Mom, that's worth at least one. That was 3 breaths right there.
Yeah.
So
Aw,
yeah,
what a
so
sweetheart.
yeah, she's survived blasto, which is like a fungal thing that attacks her lungs. It's a fungal infection from rooting around in the wet soil during a winter thaw. Because
Okay.
if I was like, this disease only happens usually in the spring after the thaw, but climate change, yay,
Yeah.
has given us like 8 thaws per winter. And when you have a dog who's part dachshund,
Yes.
yeah, it's crazy, crazy. All right.
Well, what is one thing you're proud of this week, Heidi?
Oh my gosh. So I overcame some serious business resistance this week.
Mm.
I applied to get a certificate for my business, and I thought that was, for some reason, like waiting for this official certificate for my business name was going to make me like propel me forward in my business. And then I'm like, what is really keeping me from opening up like a bank account to be like legit person? And then I was like, oh, I really want a federal ID so I can keep things separate from like my personal finances and like business stuff. And so I got a federal tax ID, and then I opened an account yesterday. So
Wow, that's a big to do.
yeah,
That's
and then
huge.
I integrated my Facebook feed and our YouTube channel on my website in the same day.
My goodness, that's a
So
lot.
So yesterday was a very lot. And we'll probably, we might get into this later, but like I'm a reflector of the human design. So like my energy is kind of attached to the moon, and my decisions are kind of attached to the moon. So I normally wait like a long time to make a decision, but these were like, oh yeah, I need tax ID, and then I'll get a bank account. And it all worked out. So what's about you, Heather? What's your proud of?
My big thing is I write on Medium, and there's and within Medium's a website where you can write things, and within Medium there's publications, so like magazines, I guess. And there was one that I really liked called Fanfare, which is all about like movies and TV and things like that. And they wrote things about like Star Wars, like they had which is the best Star Wars character competition between the writers, and you had to vote. And they just do a lot of fun things, and they're very nerdy. And so I really wanted to be a writer for these guys. And they only accept submissions from new writers from October 1st to October 7th.
Oh, wow. That's a short window.
It is a short window. And within my head, I was like, for some reason, I thought it was the whole month of October. Well, luckily, I looked again on the 7th, and I was like, oh no. So I quickly put in my submissions, and then I thought about it, and I got them in at like 6:30 at night. And then I remembered that he's in England, and I was like, oh, I bet I missed the deadline, like in England,
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh. So I was like, well, I'll just try next year, it was my fault. Well, then on Monday, I got notification that he was just swamped with submissions, and he did accept me as a writer. So I was like, like I danced around. The dog kind of looked at me. And then yesterday I submitted, because I just sent him a draft of the submissions. So I actually submitted an article that I had written, and it's been published on Fanfare. So I'm officially have an article.
Oh my gosh. Well, we will include, for all those watching the replay, we will include the link to your article in the show notes.
It's called 7 Movie Scenes That Wreck Me.
Oh, wreck like ugly cry wreck? Or
yes, like they just get you and you can't breathe, your chest tightens, and they stick in your brain. Like you'll never forget them. Like one of them's a scene from The Abyss. And that movie came out in 89.
Oh, I haven't thought about that movie forever.
Yes. You know what scene I'm talking about in that movie?
I don't have that
kind of memory. Scene, and if you haven't seen the movie, go la 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 until I do this, okay? Yeah. So here we go. It's the scene where they're stuck in the submarine, the two of them, and so she decides to drown, and they only have one like oxygen tank, so she drowns, and then he swims her back to the main ship. and then he has to try to revive her. It's a super intense scene. And it's just heart-wrenching.
Oh.
And it has a good ending. Okay.
How about that? That heart-wrenching connection with humanity, common humanity, like what we wouldn't do for other people.
Yes.
you know? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, we can put a link on it, and yeah. So let's talk about self-development.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. So first off, we didn't plan the Twinnie outfits. It just happened.
Yeah, that just happened.
It just happened that all of our marketing stuff is also in this color. So we're vibing with the green blue right now, the turquoise.
Yes. It's okay. It's okay. And we're both blonde, which doesn't help.
Who's who? The one wearing the turquoise. Oh. The one whose name starts with an H. Oh.
Next time I'll like message you. I'll be like, I am wearing red today, even though I don't think I have a single thing that's red. But it's 11/11. Let's just take a moment to be like, yay. Okay.
Make a wish. Anybody, you can make a wish.
Yes, you can make a wish. Which, speaking of, if you have anything you would like to comment on or say while we're talking, please do, because we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, like you can put what you're proud of or how you're taking care of yourself today. We'd love to hear from you, and we will get back to you post show or during the show if we can get all of our faculties aligned.
Yes.
For that. All right, let's move on. Personal development. So, Heather, did you ever just say like, I am going to start personal development today? It's on my calendar, my to-do list for this year. Did that ever happen to you?
No. No. But as Elizabeth Gilbert says, she doesn't know anybody who doesn't start their journey of personal development that didn't first get tired of their own shit. So I would say that at some point you're like, I don't really like this. That would be what I would say. What happened to you? Like, how did yours
go? I only recently discovered this word of personal development, but that's what I've been doing for the last 12 years. And that's like, I have lots of tools about it. First, I was like, oh, maybe I'm mindfulness. Oh, maybe it's personal development. I was just kind of like, how do I not feel like crap? How do I not feel like I'm living somebody else's life? How do I feel better about myself? How can I survive in this relationship? Or do I need to get out of this relationship? So there's always some pain point that, how do I get out of this vice? It's always like there's some clock ticking. There's a bear vice on my leg, and then I need to get out of the den, or I'm dead meat. So because I think as humans we're designed to we're supposed to be lazy because that's how we conserve energy. We're not gonna do this stuff unless we absolutely have to. So I got something. So before my journey, and I guess before my first marriage, I went on a vacation with my parents to Minnesota. Have you ever been to Minnesota? They have a lot of lakes there with loons. Which is cool. So this is like a mama loon. And then the cool thing about loons is that they carry their babies on their backs.
What's the difference between a duck and a loon?
The red eyes? No, I have no idea.
Okay, that's a
maybe it's kind of like a cross between. Yeah, it's kind of a cross between like a goose and a duck.
Yeah.
To me, they make pretty noises though. I'm not gonna try to. I'm like, whoo. I don't mean. But like the loon's major food group is at the bottom of the lake. They eat a lot of the vegetation. And so literally, right, they have to dive into an environment where they could suffocate to get their baby's food.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so, so they're right. They're made for the air, but they have to almost die to like keep alive. And so I keep this around because I felt at one point like, I'm like a loon because I'm always suffocating while I'm taking care of everyone else.
Mm.
And so that was one of my pain points when my kids were really little. I always felt kind of like suffocated, and I wanted to just fly in the air and go away.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I still want to take care of my kids, but I couldn't figure out how it could be how can I take care of myself
Mhm.
and my kids? It was a pound of flesh. Like,
Mhm.
I'm going to sacrifice myself again and go to the deep, and then, come up and feed you guys and keep you safe on my back. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I keep this guy around, Mama Loon. But
I think that's the point, is when you like, if I continue like this, I am going to become a miserable person. I'm going to explode. Something bad's going to happen. Like, you're right in saying it's a pressure point that happens where you're just like, I can't go on anymore.
yeah, there's a ticking time bomb. You realize that you are your own MacGyver, pretty much.
Yes. Yeah.
You got to figure out, where's my stick of gum and my paperclip.
Yes.
What are the tools I'm going to need to disarm this bomb?
And you have to do it yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. Now, I think people can give you signs and like a foot up, but you have to do it.
Yeah, I think the first part is always like becoming open to, like, aware of the reality that it's not good. Like, something needs to change, right?
Yeah.
That's always the first step, is like, the shit hit the fan. What do I got to do now? Because this ain't going.
Right.
And so becoming open to new possibilities, I think that's key, because we try so hard to be efficient humans and just keep doing the same thing, because we can become more efficient and not use all of our resources, and therefore, our ancestors survived because they conserved their physical resources. Yeah, so I definitely think those two are the first.
But there's also this just came into my head. So yes, we want to conserve energy, but there's also evolution, and there's something happens, and you're like, either I need to evolve or I'm going to die. So I am going to grow wings or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my food is at the bottom of the lake now, so I need to figure out how to get down there, or I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, it's time to start learning how to hold my breath. Okay.
So we're talking about how horrible the beginning is. Heidi, can you describe the reward at the end?
The end's like, I'm not going to say.
Huh? If there's an end, it's a journey.
But yeah. I feel fractal comes to mind. So the end is really the beginning to a new journey. So it's, you climb the mountain, but you're still in the mountain range analogy. But the great thing about personal development, about recognizing that you're in a pain point and then trying to pivot in some way, is that you become more aware of how you need to take care of yourself and how you need to love yourself and honor yourself. I think honor is a big word that I only enveloped recently. And so the more that I take care of myself and respond to what I need, the more I'm able to be flexible to say, all right, this time it's not a mountain, but now I'm in a jungle. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I bring like my bug spray and my rain fly versus like my winter coat and my walking sticks. And so I think the big reward is knowing myself more so that I can take care of myself no matter what happens. So I think this is really hard because I grew up in an environment that was so freaking stable.
Yeah.
There wasn't any, it was like there weren't any changes, like mom, dad, school, summer break, vacation, lather, rinse, repeat. And so it was so predictable and comfortable. And my mom even made like all sorts of homemade stuff. And then she transitioned into the workforce. So I had this great role model for a woman kind of like doing it all somehow. I think she needs like half the amount of sleep that I do, probably. And like, it's so stable. So I had no idea what the internal journeys were for my parents,
Yes.
that they had to go through to get to this. It's weird. They probably had to go through a giant internal journey to get to a stable environment that seemed like it didn't change, but it probably did. So,
Probably did. I mean, have you ever asked your mom how she adjusted to being a mother?
I don't know if I actually have. I might have at some point, but yeah, I would. I think my adjustment to being a mother is kind of like a train running into like a mountain. That's like my analogy. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, didn't see that coming. Ah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So yeah, yeah. Um, what about you in, in the development? Like what do you think are like the benefits and
I think one of the benefits, and you've touched on this already a little bit, is as you figure out the puzzle of who you are, you learn who you are, and then you're able to, like you said, take care of yourself more. Um, you're able to set up boundaries more. You're just, once you learn how you tick, you can make better choices. Otherwise, I think you're just walking around in the fog.
Oh, I love that.
Development like clears away the fog so that you can see what you need to do to take care of yourself and to make choices. So, and I
love that.
always tell my clients that, and this is what happened to me too, that it doesn't always feel good at first. It's like, wow, this is really crappy. I'm learning some really crappy things about myself. And sometimes you learn some really wonderful things about yourself, but you walk through that fire and just like a phoenix, you come out the other side feeling lighter and freer. I'm a firm believer that you don't change. The essence of you doesn't change. You just open up more and blossom more. So.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So the fire analogy, you just kind of like burn off other layers so that you're more open
Yes.
to walking through life as yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Instead of the some of the coping skills that you learned that probably worked when you were a kid, but don't work so much anymore as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, you learn you just follow the rules and do what you need to do, and everything will work out. And as a kid, that's really easy. But as an adult, the rules aren't always the same, and life is complicated, and it doesn't quite work the way that you think it will.
Yeah. So here's a rule I had growing up that just reminded me. Somehow growing up, I picked up that to make sure everyone knows you're the smartest person in the room, you need to always tell them what's right.
Oh.
So using this mechanism, I'm sure that I had probably less friends than I would have had I had adopted a different mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And especially at my first job so I was a total newbie in IT consulting, 1999. And I would go to this training, and then I remember times where I would be standing in a group of people with other supervisors and just interrupting them to let them know what was right.
Oh,
I know I have a lot of compassion for that, Heidi. And
yeah.
I understand now why I got put on projects where I was the only person and I had to drive to like the middle of Idaho. I got to see a lot of the country, not a lot of people.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of a coping mechanism. Like, I don't feel good inside, so I need to make sure people know that I'm smart.
Mm-hmm.
Works great when you're like 4, 5, 6 years old and you want to say your ABCs. Not so good when you're like a 23-year-old at your first job. So
Yeah. That's a perfect example.
I call it the interrupting chicken. Sometimes I could feel like the interrupting chicken wants to come out. I'm like, I'm feeling like I'm not hearing myself. So I'll have to spend some time taking care of myself so that I don't need to interrupt other people to prove that prove that point. Yeah, those are hard lessons, and I've cried a little bit for that earlier version of Heidi.
Yeah.
But you learn the lessons, and then you just move on, and now I can hold space for people, and I believe every person is a gift. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And you got to burn away the layers to find that gift.
You just provide that safe holder, and then people can just show a little bit more of themselves, maybe sometimes in an unexpected situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think happens when you don't engage in personal development as you move through your life?
Well, I think, oh God, I just had this vision of my son. He's 15, and he reacts to everything, and that just reminds me of my earlier self. Like, I would just constantly like, what's coming at me now? What's coming at me now? Oh no, oh no. So I had this constant worry of like, what could happen, and what could happen, and what could happen. And and I was just thinking about this morning, I never was able to make a decision just myself. I had to make decision with committee. So somehow I decided that my opinion was just like one of many that would help me direct my life. So I would have like my parents, and then maybe my brother and a couple friends, and I would get their opinions on like big decisions in my life, and I would just take a consensus.
Right.
So consequences of not trying to figure out how you are on the inside is you make decision you let other people make decisions for you.
Yeah.
Because you're not quite sure on how to feel that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I used to worry a lot, and I'd have a lot of migraines. So that was probably also a consequence. What do you think is the negative flip side of just saying everything's just fine and leave me alone?
Yeah, I'm great just the way I am. And I do think people are great for just who they are. I just think that there's some things that need to be figured out. And so I think that like the coping skills, you start wearing them on your sleeve. Like as you get older, like let's say you didn't figure out the interrupting chicken, then as a like 70-year-old, you're like interrupting the doctor, like telling them, well,
I do not have 2 weeks to live.
Yeah.
2 years. I will not do that. I have plenty of time.
Exactly. And then, so I think that then people can just read you like a book. And I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is that they see, you just wear your weaknesses on your sleeve, you know?
It makes you more vulnerable to attack. I know that sounds really, really evil, but then people are like, oh, you know what? If I give that person like 3 compliments, I bet I can get them to give me like $100 I need.
Right.
And so, it makes you really, really vulnerable. And even like having lack of self-worth, like,
yes,
like me having lack of self-worth, the consequence of that was I attracted people who would take advantage of me, and they didn't necessarily monetarily, but like my time. Like they just sucked up all of my time, and I would just sit there doting on them and doing things for them, just to get that little ounce of a compliment back, when I could have just filled my own cup and done things that are more in alignment with who I am as a person.
And when you're living your life based on these coping skills or what you were taught to survive, and you might realize that it's not working, but you subconsciously, so you start being resentful. And I think that's when like the grumpy old men and grumpy old women come about. How many times do you hear the cliche of like the miserable old man or the miserable old woman who just makes everyone else around them miserable? And I think that's a consequence of that too, of not taking the time to figure yourself out and remove some of the things that aren't serving you anymore.
I love that, the coping mechanisms on that sleeve, because it just becomes so much more apparent when you meet people who aren't walking forward and reflecting, and they have that vulnerability. and they need to just be a little more open so that so they could let in a little more light so they could see themselves better. But
and I think as the longer you go, the more rigid you are, and it's harder to change. Like if you feel like you need to be in control of everything and you get to be 80 and you're like, lady, you can't control everything. It's
like my world is ending. It's
Yeah,
like the earth is crashing into the moon.
like, hell, I can't. I've spent 80 years doing it. It's like,
oh, you just watch me.
Yeah. It's like, but are you happy? Are you happy? And I think that's the goal, is to, when you do this personal development, you find happiness and joy.
Yeah. And something in my upcoming book, Joyfully Ever After, for crying out loud, I have a companion workbook so the book is more of a memoir, and there's a companion workbook where I was able to figure out exactly how I was able to get to the end point without collapsing. And one of the things that I didn't realize, because I was always brought up to be so incredibly self-sufficient and independent, self-sufficient woman, of the new age, and was that I needed people. That I started at a place of pretty much complete isolation, and the people that I did have in there were also unaware and unavailable. We all just kind of talk about superficial things, made sure status quo was maintained. But then I was able to find a friend. Oh, is the mailman here? I got a dog barking. I apologize. I'm gonna go grab him.
Okay.
Hey, bud.
It's okay. I just realized my email was still up, so I closed that. We're learning.
Yay.
Hi,
all right. Elvis and I are hanging out. So I found an unconditional love from a friend that helped me kind of start to ask questions without feeling vulnerable. And then I was able to find someone to ask me different questions. So it was my pastor. Some people use therapists. So to get me to look from a different perspective. And then the final thing that I didn't realize that I needed was someone to open the door to what could the new Heidi feel like? What could the new Heidi look like? And so that was a big thing that I didn't realize. Like, I need people. I need support in my life. I guess we're made with mouths and ears, right? So we're made to communicate.
Yes.
But
so those are the 4 points or stepping stones that you have then?
Yeah. So I call it the step stool of support. So the someone like an unconditional, like a cheerleader, someone who will help you find answers from a different perspective, or see your life from a different perspective, and someone who can open the door to joy for you. All right, are you going to bark, or are you going to be a good boy? Hopefully you can be a good boy. So what kind of I know we are going to wrap up shortly, but let's move on really quick and talk about teachers. So the teachers, we talk about finding that pain point and starting to move forward. So what kind of teachers have you had on your path, or what was the most influential teacher that you've encountered on your path?
What's interesting to me, the most influential teacher was not a person, it's the enneagram. That has helped me more than anything. I did have a teacher for the enneagram that I studied with for many years. What's interesting to me is that I can look through my life and I have women, strong women, who were kind of mentors for a while, but all of them were deeply flawed in many ways. So I not only learned from what they were teaching me, but I also learned from their flaws as well. So my best example would be my first one, which would be my high school counselor. And what I loved about her is she was tough love. She just laid the facts out on a platter. In fact, once she said to me, I was like, oh, so upset about my high school boyfriend. And she was like, what's love got to do with it? And I was like, oh, everything. If love has everything to do with it. And then it wasn't until it was later and I was engaged to somebody who I loved very much and they loved me very much, but I could see that it wasn't going to work like long term.
Ooh.
And then I was like, dang, that high school counselor, she was right. What's love got to do with it? So she helped me a lot. And but at the same time, she was very flawed. She was a tough cookie. She did not like being vulnerable. She did not like accepting help from other people. And so there were times when I would try to give back to her, and she was like, nope. And so
that ship has sailed. I have my armor on.
Yeah, super armor. Yeah. So those were the teachers that I had. They would all teach me little things about life and myself, but I would also learn from them.
And you have an Enneagram course that you run, right? Is it every week?
Yes, it is every week. Thank you for mentioning it. It's Monday nights at 6:30 Mountain Time, and it's an ongoing hour class where we talk about the Enneagram. Right now I'm going through and gathering guests to talk about their Enneagram number, like what it's like, because that's the best way to learn about all the different numbers is to hear other people talk about them. But aside from that, it's most important to find out what your number is first. And I'm happy to help anybody with that. If they would like to email me, they can also sign up for a one-on-one session.
Yeah, maybe we'll do like an intro show to Enneagram.
It might have to be 5 hours long.
Heather. Yeah.
Because I won't shut up.
That's okay.
Yes. I love the
Enneagram is cool.
It is cool.
It's cool. It helps you. It would help. I've only known about the Enneagram for like a couple months now, but it has helped me filter how people show up in the world and how they move in the world.
Yes.
So it kind of gives me a why, and it adds to my bucket of how to not take things personally in life. It's very good. You're like, oh, well, he's my son is just constantly in this zone because he's like afraid and he just wants safety. He just wants to make sure everyone's on his team. Like, okay, that's how he sees the world. So this is how he's showing up right now. And this is how I can help him. So,
or like the Enneagram 5 needs to have alone time. Like it's an imperative to their rejuvenation. They believe they have a limited amount of energy they get to spend every day. And so once that energy is gone, poop, I gotta go. Right. But if you are an Enneagram 5 father, can you imagine how it is for the wife and the kids to all of a sudden have dad just disappear, and you're like, what the hell? And you could take that very personally, like, well, dad doesn't like me. When really dad
only likes himself.
Yeah.
What's going on? He goes to work and then he comes home when he leaves.
Right. When really dad really just loves you very much. He just has to rejuvenate, in which case then negotiations can happen. We understand you need to rejuvenate, but we also really need you to participate in dinner. That's how the Enneagram is. You learn that person is behaving from their own fears and desires, and it most of the time has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Like I learned about my type. I feel like my type is the most likely to be codependent. So I fit like right in. And the good news is I'm self-aware, and I'm Enneagram 2, in case you're watching this, and nurturer. So everything's about taking care. And the last person, of course, I learned to take care of is myself.
Yep.
So that's like very, very, very big for me. That's why I think that's why I always start with that question. Like I ask myself that every day. Like, how am I going to take care of myself today? I ask my kids that. How are you going to take care of yourself today? What's your plan for success for taking care of yourself today?
That's a really good question. Yeah,
I kind of keep it at the center. Or my son, I could say, like, how are you going to be on your own team today?
Oh, I like that.
Be on your own side.
Yeah.
So yeah, like all the types probably have their own version of that question. My wife would be like, "How are you going to do everything right today?" She's Enneagram 1.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So what
So,
were some of the teachers you had?
I feel like I walk through life and teachers just show up and they're not necessarily people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, one of the big teachers, speaking of codependence, in my life has been my stepdog, Elvis. You just saw him. He's the Italian Greyhound. And he would just infuriate me because when I was first dating my wife, he was a puppy. He was like 9 months old. And I'd come over to her house and immediately just start, like if I was talking to Stacy or whatever, he'd just start jumping on me and to try to push me away because
Mm.
he's so codependent and like he needed to be like with his mom all the time, walking behind her constantly, like in her shadow. And I was always like, why can't you just leave her alone so I can just hang out with her? And it got so bad. I remember one time he didn't like oranges.
Mm.
And we were sitting there, I think it was a winter, on her couch, and I remember I peeled a few oranges and I just put the orange rind like around the couch in like a ring of protection. I was like, that's it, you're dead to me. And I'm just like peeling oranges. So I learned a lot. And about how similar I was to Elvis.
Mm.
So, and we've kind of grown from being like estranged roommates to he will actually come up to me, and for the first time ever, he's 11. I was able to walk him from my house around the block. I did this last week. I know. And I was like, it's because his mom goes every day for like in the morning. Stacy works in the morning. And then I was like, God, the dogs are so depressed. They just lay around and they're like, oh, where's my mom?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, maybe I can entice him by going outside because there's a lot of squirrels out there and he loves squirrels. And he walked away from the house knowing that that was the last place he saw his mom. And he's very codependently attached. And I usually have to drive him to walk him back to the house. And so it happened. We went on like a 10-minute walk and I was so freaking proud of that, buddy. And I was like, you're such an independent boy. You're like not completely codependent. You're like 98% codependent. I'm so proud of you for doing this stuff.
Oh, good boy.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna move on to so do you have something you'd like to share for no, seriously?
Yeah, it's a silly one, and I don't know why I didn't know this. I'm usually up to date on things. But I just found out the movie Dune is coming out this weekend. And I was reading something and it's listed as Dune Part 1. And I was like, what? But what do you mean Part 1? It's not the whole book. It's only part, like Harry Potter and the last Harry Potter. Was that the Deathly Hallows?
The last one?
The last book is
maybe.
I can't remember.
Deathly Hallows sounds right.
Yeah. So anyway, so now I'm just a little bit like, I was ready for the whole thing, and I understand why they're doing it in 2 parts. I was really excited for the whole thing, and now I have to readjust my expectations to half. And now I'm wondering, where is half going to be? So that's it. That's my seriously.
Yeah, I feel like all the studios now are dripping out content. Mm-hmm. They're just kind of metering it out and just keeping us like addicted to the sugar by only giving us like a certain amount at a time.
And I know that the studio is like, please let it be a hit. Please let it be a hit, because there's so many Dune books. And they're like, oh, we have our own Dune universe that we can create, like they're all excited. I just wanted the first one. So I don't know when I guess it was all filmed at once, kind of like Lord of the Rings. So.
Oh, and then they so they made the whole pie and we're only getting a slice.
Yes. Because for some reason they decide they have to construct the other half, do the editing and all of that. So anyway, that's it. What's yours? What's your, no, seriously.
Wow. I feel like I have so many. What should I, because I feel like I'm drawing a blank right now, but I'll just
That's all right.
I feel well, okay, so last week I found out I was a type of person on this planet who in the human design arena called a reflector. And for those of you who don't know, it's like this whole new universe that is just opening up on the internet that apparently was only word of mouth, but it started in the 80s. So really, how could it be word of mouth?
Yeah.
And all the resources are pretty much locked up in high-end courses and books you won't understand, by the way, which is a little disappointing because knowledge is free, right? But
Yeah.
it's never really free because you always have to give your information and allow, Google and Amazon to track you until you die. So I found out, I was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll be like a kind of person who's like just like a regular person who fits in. Because as an Enneagram 2, I want to belong. Like that is like one of my big things is like belonging to a community. And so of course I found out like I'm the rarest type. And then I need like 29 and a half days a lunar cycle to make big decisions in my life. So that was very understandable given that I do wait a long time to make decisions. And now I know why. So I'm not going to give myself any more grief about it. I'm going to be like, oh, sorry, you got to wait a lunar cycle for that response. But yeah, so I'm a type of person who's meant to I don't have any core strong centers of personality, but I'm meant to reflect your truth and potential back to you.
Oh.
So I thought that was kind of cool. But I was like, really, 1%? Seriously? Can't I just be part of the team?
Yeah, the big team
of the people that make the things. So, but anyway, it also opened a door saying, yes, you're on the right path by sharing your face plants and all your rando moments so that people can relate to you and understand how you screwed up and maybe avoid that bridge in the future.
Yes.
So cool. All right. So I think it's time for the Bowl of Affirmation.
I'm excited.
Okay.
And if you comment, we'll pull one especially for you.
Yeah, if you comment, totally. We'll pull one for that. Okay. So this is yours.
My happiness matters. I love it. I love it. It goes along with me being a 9 on the Enneagram.
And you're a happiness expert.
I am a happiness expert.
Oh my gosh. So that was really, really in line.
That was really in line.
And mine is, of course,
obstacles are my opportunities.
Which totally reminded me of my real no seriously was because my son's soccer season just ended, so I can get a regular night's sleep. And I feel like God, universe, higher power always gives you lessons until you learn them. So his new indoor soccer stuff is on the weekends, but all the games are at 9:30 or 10:20.
At night?
Yes. And so I said, okay, God, obviously I didn't learn my lesson and I'm going to try carpooling this time. So I sent like an email out and I was like, I need 2 other parents to carpool with, or this mama is not, that's late.
Mm-hmm.
That's late. That's late for me, especially when I get up.
How long is a soccer game?
I think they go for like an hour.
So
like I would get the 10:20, 11:20, midnight home because it's about a 15-20 minute drive from here, the indoor soccer arena.
Don't think it's okay to be scheduling things for kids at 10 o'clock at night.
Yes, Soccer Planet. Why do you do that? I understand that COVID was hard and indoor soccer shut down, but parents also need to sleep.
Yes.
When their kids are old enough to want to be on the league and have access and all the skills, but not old enough to drive there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm off my high horse.
Maybe he will have sleepovers after these sometimes. and then he'll just go home with whoever that is.
That would be great. Yes, I would love that. So I'm going to try to do carpooling, and I looped his dad in on him because his dad would have to take him to a bunch of them, and then I'll have to take a bunch. So, fingers crossed. So the obstacles, that reminded me of my realness Thursday. And this is for all you viewers right there. That is your affirmation for the week, is to focus on gratitude.
I love it. So I have just a little silly thing that we can do real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I think you should pull an affirmation for Elvis and for Olive and for Ember, just for fun. Just once.
Okay, we're going to do the dog affirmations. Elvis is funny.
I am a human in progress. Well, you did tell him, like, good job. You're 98%,
Yeah, he got rid of like 2% of his codependence.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do Ember next. Aww.
Says, I respect myself. Aww.
And she got the hearts.
She did get the hearts, and she, yeah.
Very nice. And Olive gets, of course.
Nope, there you go. I am creative. Oh, is Olive a creative?
She is creative with where she rolls in the backyard.
Oh.
She's very creative. Sometimes she's behind the garden and I don't see her, and then I pick her up and I'm like, what happened?
Oh gosh.
So she's very, very, very creative. And sometimes she whines, sometimes she's like, and so she tries to be like a cat or a siren. And so sometimes she's like, and so I'm like, what is that noise? Is that a bird or what is that? So yeah.
My first dog used to do that. She'd roll and poop, and then she'd come over all excited, be like, don't I smell awesome? And I'm like, no, you're going in the tub right now. Whoa.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
And she would
you go directly to jail.
Pouty, like, I smelled so good. Now I smell like perfume.
So we're not going to have a show until after Halloween. Are you dressing up Ember at all? Or
no, Ember's too fluffy to dress up.
Okay.
She just looks silly. And Jeff and I, we're totally Scrooges. And we usually hide in the basement and watch a scary movie.
Oh, nice.
We don't hand out candy. Not that there's a lot of kids around here, but then I have the candy and then I eat the candy. And neither one of us works in a corporation or something where you take the candy and dump it and then leave.
Oh, yeah.
Although I've heard you can donate them to troops, like you can go to dentist's office.
You can do that. You can go to dentist's office and they'll pay you for the candy. But if you're buying the candy and you're just going to eat the candy, then don't donate it, I guess. Yeah, or only eat a little bit. But when the kids were younger, we would dress up Elvis. Elvis, I don't know if we've ever had Olive during trick or treat with the kids, but Elvis has been, he's been the horse for the Headless Horseman. That was a real good one. And maybe I'll have him in that costume. He's been Superman, which is funny because anytime any piece of cloth touches his tail, he can't walk.
Oh.
So he would just be like, he's like stuck. And so we'd have to kind of like hold him and move the cape up a little bit so that he can walk. And then when it slid back down, he'd be like, help me. So I've always wanted to dress Elvis up as an AT-AT because he has such a big chest.
Oh, yeah.
So they make the AT-AT costumes for full-size greyhounds. And so maybe this year or next year we'll make it official. But we fight over who is going to be what Star Wars character because, my hair used to be a lot shorter. And I was like, obviously I'm Han Solo. Obviously. And then it got a little Bieber-esque. And so I was like, obviously I'm Luke.
Yeah.
And my daughter would never be any of them because she didn't like.
Star Wars?
We always had this impasse. She's not a super Star Wars, Star Trek, anything nerd. So she's more anime, and none of us know anime. Only she does.
Watch
so we
Rurouni.
always had an impasse. Oh, what did you say?
Rurouni Kenshin. That's the only anime that I really like.
Okay, I'll ask her.
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin, the Samurai X.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That's a good one.
All right. Well, I think that is it for this week.
Yes.
I'm Heidi Esther. You join Mindfulness Storyteller.
I am Heather Kokx, your happiness expert, and this has been awesome. Thank you.
And we hope you found some interesting tidbits about personal development, what it is, and how it can make you a totally awesome Phoenix person. And feel free to put your comments in the chat, and we will see you back here on November 3rd.
All right. Thanks. Bye.